So, we've just spoken about the auxiliary verb, and in fact there are two auxiliary verbs. There's être and there's avoir. Now, which one do you use and when do you use it? Now, the way I like to explain this is actually through an analogy of an MP3 device that is trying to connect to a speaker, right, to play music. So just bear with me a second. Here is my MP3 device, and I have a speaker that I'd like to use, but at the moment there's no music coming out of it. So what I need to connect the MP3 device to the speaker is a cable. Now these cables are called aux cables, right? Auxiliary. It's exactly the same with the passé composé. So I'll take a cable and I'll plug it in here, and now we have music. Now, this cable fits with this type of speaker. You see it's the same color, red cable, red speaker. But not all speakers are the same. We might have different types of speakers. Can we use this red cable to connect to this speaker? Well, the answer is no, we cannot. So we need a different cable. Here we have a blue cable that connects to the blue speaker, and there we go. Now, when do you use the red cable? When do you use the blue cable? Well, you use the red cable when you have a red speaker, and you use the blue cable when you have a blue speaker. It's exactly the same with the passé composé. If we imagine that our MP3 device is our subject, our aux cable is obviously our auxiliary, and then our speaker is our past participle. Now, some verbs, when you want to put them into the past tense, they will need the red cable, and some other verbs, they will need the blue cable. Okay? Now, the red cable is, of course, être, and the blue cable is, of course, avoir. So, let's just take a few verbs and see which ones take être and which ones take avoir. So, let's take a verb like some common verbs. So, manger, to eat, boire, aller, and faire. Okay, so these are verbs. Now, we want to put these verbs into the past tense using the passé composé, and we know now that we need our three parts, or our two parts. We need our subject, our auxiliary, and our past participle. So I want to say that I ate. So I'm going to take this. I need my subject. Okay, je. Now, am I going to say j'ai, or am I going to say je suis, right, for manger? Well, the correct answer here is j'ai. J'ai mangé. Just simply because manger is sort of a blue speaker, right? It doesn't work with this, right? The red cable cannot connect to this. That does not work. We need the blue cable, and that is just how it works. So out of these verbs, the ones that take avoir are manger, j'ai mangé, j'ai bu, j'ai fait, and we have one here that takes aller. Now, is there a system to memorize which verbs take avoir, which verbs take être? Well, yes and no, but a good place to start is to memorize this, that most verbs take avoir, right? The majority of verbs take avoir. There are some that take être, and these verbs usually describe sort of movement or a change of state, things like to go up, to go down, reflexive verbs as well. So I brushed my teeth, je me suis brossé les dents, things like that. So that's what you need to know. Now, in a later section, we're going to talk about if you need to know every single verb and whether it takes être and avoir. And the answer to that is, of course, no. All you need to know for the IGCSE are, I would say, maybe 10 verbs that you know that you're going to use, and you just need to do a bit of research by yourself and think, okay, and this is where you ask your teacher, I want to write about this thing, so I'm using this action, this verb, does it take être or does it take avoir? And you can very quickly Google this and find this information out, but just know that some verbs take être, most of them take avoir.